Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines WWE NXT review. Forgot which thing I was doing it for a second. And this is the NXT review live with Finn Balor. His time is up, TikTok and all that. But yes, Finn Balor carrying Kross is what the leading thing for the main event, and I am going to be talking through that initially. But yes, NXT, a interesting, I guess, review. So interesting kind of 2021 that they've had so far, building to Stand and Deliver. I'm yours. You can't call it Stand and Deliver and not expect me to do the flipping song. I'm doing it in my head every single time you say Stand and Deliver. It's a weird name for a pay-per-view, especially with a pirate theme. What is the link between Stand and Deliver and pirates? I mean, technically, delivery service, but kind of not really delivery service. Hola, Jeff, in the chat. Yeah, technically, are pirates a delivery service? I don't know. If anyone can explain the link of Stand and Deliver and pirates, it's called Stand and Deliver the pirate skull and everything, because of course the Tampa Bay stuff for the main roster. Don't get it. Why is it called Stand and Deliver? I'm yours. I'm going to do the song every time, see how monetization goes. But anyway, hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines NXT review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form. Links in the description, or head over to wrestlingheadlines.net for your latest wrestling news. A St. Patrick's Night of developmental wrestling, kind of, because it's not really developmental, nor a Paddy's Day celebration, aside from like people in the crowd wearing green t-shirts. So, does that count? Does that really, really count? And we've got Karrion Kross and Finn Balor for like the main thing tonight. I guess before I get into it, who's my favourite wrestler? Right now, I think I'd say Jay White in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Little thing about me, my number one promotion is New Japan Pro Wrestling. So when I review NXT, and of course I'm English as well, so when I review like the wars of the different promotions in America, it's like I just enjoy wrestling. Like, doesn't matter. I like to watch as much as I can. I don't have an affinity to either really, because I enjoy. My number one is New Japan. If New Japan's one way it goes a little bit down, then I'll become grumpy. But if WWE is a bit of a fall, doesn't really matter to me. It's number one. But yes, the Switchblade Jay White, the current leader of the Bullet Club in New Japan, absolutely killing it, and I'm enjoying him a lot so far. But in NXT, Finn Balor and Karrion Kross are doing their little journey. I'm not somebody who's been a massive fan of Finn Balor's NXT run. I've been a fan of the character he's been displaying, but overall in NXT, I've not been a massive fan of the kind of main roster wrestlers coming down to NXT, because I've always liked that feel of it, having that constantly spinning wheel when that next generation then comes on up. Having the former main roster guys come down has created a bit of a problem when that wheel doesn't quite rotate properly. However, 2021 has done a fantastic job of kind of getting it spinning again. And I feel like they've addressed a lot of the problems, and the way the card for Stand and Deliver is developing, I feel like is like really, really going the perfect right direction. They are really building it up really well. It feels like a kind of show which is setting up the future of NXT, like a possible transitional card. Again, like Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez, and Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor. I spent hours on the Photoshop today. Have you seen that? I'm really proud of that Photoshop. And and it feels like there's quite a few matches which are like the transition of eras for NXT. I guess Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, to have Kyle O'Reilly winning that big match as well, like cementing him as like a big single star for Undisputed Era. I feel like they're all massive positives. So I'm really into NXT right now, because at the end of 2020 I was pretty negative on it. My end of year review when I appeared on One Nation Radio was just that, again, it's like they don't quite know what their identity is. They've had a little bit of a crisis, not massively into it. Now, like, it's so many positives. I'm enjoying so much about it. And in terms of the main event and the way that's moving with Finn Balor and Karrion Kross, I'm personally all for that transition to Karrion Kross, because for me, Finn Balor being champion is all about then putting over that next person to keep the wheel spinning. Again, I'm not a super massive fan of the main roster guys coming down to NXT purely if they become champion as well. If they're purely used to put folk over, but that's more like a super trainee kind of role, which Finn Balor apparently wants to be a trainer afterwards, which I think he'll get pretty easily. So yeah. Anyway, so Finn Balor is thank you, Jeff, and Murray in the chat. I'll read your comment in a second, Murray. So we kicked off the show. Actually, before I'll read the opening of the show, and then I'll go back to the comments, and then we'll do the main event. But Finn Balor kicked us off NXT, kicking off the St. Patrick's Day special with their resident Irishman. Don't worry, this is still WWE. Therefore, your Irishman is getting pinned at the end of the night. That's the rule. If they're in your hometown, or if they're celebrating something to do with you, you will be pinned on that show. Or in London, we might as well pin Bad News Barrett. Let's pin him. Oh yeah. Oh, in Boston, are we? Oh, Sasha Banks, get your shoulders onto that mat. You are getting pinned. Like, it's the rule of the land. And so it's St. Patrick's Day. Finn, you're taking the pin. So Finn Balor came out as your Irish champion. He has been for quite a while now. Following last week's ending with, no, it's ye whose fucking time is up. Sorry, does that. Of course, in retaliation to that, Kross and Bordeaux they come out, and Bordeaux's like, Karrion Kross said something. I don't really remember it. But Bordeaux, saying she's seen 2 draped in gold in the cards. And the promo was all about that, your time is up. Karrion Kross's is fate to become champion is now. I tried to not accidentally say John Cena lyric, but I ended up just like over-explaining a John Cena lyric. It wasn't really the best. When, for me, the best British promo interruption of NXT arrived. I'm so sad he got injured in the main event, which we'll get to, but they're cutting that and they're like, whoa, lads, whoa, lads. Like Landon, lads. Like, oh, Danny Burch, my man. Absolutely love that interruption. Just shouting lads at it, yeah. And they came out with their little threat, like, focusing on us, like, hey, lads. Football, yeah. But they are easily manipulated by Scarlett's weavings. And using them to kind of like get them all amped up and put their own titles on the line just by Scarlett manipulating them, which I thought that was a great little touch. I much prefer that over her setting a fireball in a book. Personally, I way prefer that. Like with Keith Lee, the Scarlett's thing was weird magic, or is it really magic? I don't know. She put a flame in a book. That's not normal. But I much prefer this. You saw her manipulate them. And I really liked that. So, yes, some people probably watched it and went, it's Scarlett Bordeaux doing, look at me, I'm the pretty lady, and used that. No, she genuinely manipulated them. And I thought it made her character feel like she had so much more than, again, weird fireball stuff. Or just standing there as a distraction, or being a little bit distracting to the, like she was with Escobar. We'll talk about him later. It's good I forget his name now. I need it for later. But yeah, I thought this was like one of the best portrayals he's had at this opening. Actively manipulated Birch and Lorcan into putting their titles on the line. And then they can use that to get into Balor's brain. So they can say it was fate when you watched Scarlett Bordeaux manipulate them into doing it. So is it really fate when she had to have an active hand in it? That's the whole point of The Witcher. There we go. What did I do with The Witcher books? But yes, the foretelling of 2 draped in gold comes true. Using this as an example that Balor cannot escape his fate. It's like, I see 2 draped in gold. And now look at this NXT championship you suddenly have. Your fate. So basically this gives credence to all of their words that fate has given its kind of foretelling, and it's that Karrion Kross will become champion. Then you back it up with this other stuff. Which, yeah, I liked that as an opening. I've been a bit 50-50 on it so far with the Karrion Kross presentation. I thought this was one of my favourite ones. Both characters fit it really well. Anyway, as I said, I'm now going to jump to the main event, talk about that match, which was for the NXT Tag Team Championships, but first to the comments. Murray, with the exact same take, except for his favourite, is Sonada. Because he just wants to feel pain after every title match he has, or whenever he faces Okada. This week must have been pain, watching him get eliminated. Although maybe that was at least expected pain, given the look of the land. I feel like a Shingo Ospreay final is becoming more and more likely. And I had my predictions, like in terms of the overall finishing line, I'm not that far off in terms of the New Japan Cup that's currently happening. Read my column that I've been doing with Jeremy Donovan from the Keeping It Strong Style podcast. We're doing the New Japan Cup with him, with the best matches of the week. You can go read it. But yeah, I I predicted that the bottom left guy would then face, from the brackets, bottom left, which was Kazuchika Okada or Shingo for me, versus the top right, which I just thought was going to be Ospreay. And I predicted Jay White in this round would get upset, beaten by either Yoshihashi or Finlay, and I went with the wrong one. I went with Yoshihashi, and bloody is the other guy. I'm so kind of he has Gado's the book has broken me to the point where I predicted the beats absolutely perfectly. I just picked the complete wrong people. I was like, I'm happy I can finally kind of read Gado's brain. I can finally watch a New Japan show and be like, I can see where he's going to be going with this. These little pieces that he's laying down, I can interpret them a lot better now, which normally means you can enjoy the show quite a bit. But I just went with the wrong people. So my brackets are dead, like dead. but yeah, I'm really happy with the New Japan Cup so far. Like NXT, doing a really good job in setting up a load of names for the future, or at least like the next 3 quarters of the year. I feel like both promotions are doing a really good job in that in this first quarter. I mean, of course, AEW are as well. And to their credit, WWE, because of WrestleMania, they've had to focus somewhere. So in that, people get built up. I'll put Damian Priest in there. They've done an amazing job with him. But my headphones keep falling off. But the main event was for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Oh, and thank you, Jeff, for liking the stream. And I've realised I've not done all the comments. Also, Scarlett versus Alexa in a fireball match at TakeOver. Well, we'll see. Well, what if Alexa Bliss is burnt to a crisp after Fastlane? Oh, we've got to wait can't book it immediately. Hold off, Murray. Hold off to see if she's still in physical form at all. Who knows what will happen at Fastlane? Who will know? Anyway, so Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan versus Finn Balor and Karrion Kross, who was, of course, accompanied by Scarlett Bordeaux. A hard-hitting main event, emphasised by Danny Burch's possible injury to the shoulder following a drop from Kross. I say possible. When I wrote that, it was possible. He confirmed later that he has separated his shoulder, which sucks. So no timeout predicted yet. As in, there will be timeout, but how long is not known yet. I don't know. As in, if it's long enough, they'll have to drop the belts, which sucks because they hitting an awesome stride. Like, Finn Balor matches in NXT have not had good luck. Almost every time somebody gets injured. Not a great run of form. And to be fair, that's maybe just the NXT Championship in general. Past 6 months, it's just like a curse around it in this past year. People are dropping like flies. So I guess kudos to Pete Dunne and Finn Balor for coming out of their match relatively unscathed. Well done. But in terms of the match, obviously this affected the rhythm of the match itself. Danny Burch being taken out and Oney Lorcan suddenly by himself. But luckily the story around Balor and Kross was still able to beat, and they just played that into the finish, just minus the British lad. The accidental knocking down of Scarlett and Kross choke charging his teammate into the barricade to cost the match. Still able to play out exactly as it would have done anyway. Kross with a post-match rampage in his show-ending takeover message. Bordeaux, the only one to stop the beatdown, lifting Balor up for a more controlled message. The show ending with that final beat of fate after Kross's charging elbow or forearm. I need to actually listen to the commentators. Charging in at Balor, knocking him down as we get that awesome shot of Bordeaux whispering into his ear about fate. So it's made my voice go squeaky. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. We've got, is it 2 or 3 more episodes of NXT there left? I think it's 3. Because it said Fastlane, and then it's 3 weeks until WrestleMania, as in 2 weekends. So it will be 3 TV shows. So we've got 3 episodes of NXT until TakeOver. Oh wait, no, we haven't. I'm a numpty. We've got 2 because that third one is TakeOver because it's happening during the week. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do for coverage. As a British person, and as it's WrestleMania week, I think it's absolutely mental to consider covering both nights. So I think I'll just do the second night, I think. Because the first, I might review them both together. But the first night, to do back-to-back nights, have 1 day to recover, and then do 2 more back-to-back nights. Unless it's I'm not going to cover the Hall of Fame. Because I used to stay up for the Hall of Fame, and then TakeOver, and then WrestleMania. But that was, and I do my show on the Thursday, but that was when it was just a podcast with no other additional effort, really. It's obviously different now. But yeah, I think it's a bit crazy in terms of NXT. And I mean, suggestions are obviously helpful. But I feel covering both nights of TakeOver is just going to mean I'm not going to have anything in me to cover both nights of WrestleMania. Because I can't not cover both nights of WrestleMania, but NXT I reckon I can get away with. So I think I'll just do the late Thursday night. I mean, that still could be, because I normally would stay up for the Hall of Fame, that would still be 4 nights in a row. 5 is just crazy. The night after WrestleMania isn't what it is anymore, and especially in the Thunderdome era, so I'm not going to stay up for Raw. But yeah, still, I'd have one day to recover from that, for like 4 nights straight. One day to recover, up late again for the Raw review. So I think that's wiser. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll have a sip of water, because on my Yakuza 0 stream on Twitch earlier, I did do my voice in a bit, but not as bad as I did on Tuesday, because I went with a bad choice of voice there. Like, seriously. It was some form of, like, deep, damaged, smoking man. It was not a good choice. Also, to do the voice, because the whole joke is like it's Northern Yakuza. And I know this is a plug for my Twitch. It's gone off the rails a bit. But yeah, for my Northern Yakuza, I have to kind of put my hand up here to kind of do the voice correctly. Like, what are you talking about, lad? It just helps me tighten my voice a bit. So a lot of the stream, I've just got the control in front of me. I've got my hand here like this. It's like I'm pledging to something, but it just helps me do the voice. So yeah. That's a little behind the scenes thing. I don't have my camera on Twitch, just because I've not got the setup yet. I am planning to. Anyway, Dexter Lumis versus Austin Theory. I'm going to go through the card now in match order. I've not noted down like any backstage stuff unless they directly led into a match to watch. There were some like announcements for things down the line, so I'll obviously talk about them. But yeah, Dexter Lumis versus Austin Theory. Austin, all on his lonesome with the Garganos on vacation, and Izzy and Indy busy thirst tweeting over Loomis. Dude, I find it funny because I wake up, I'll watch all the stuff, and I quite often in terms of like investment of what's going on, even though I'm enjoying NXT a lot more so far this year, I still don't mind going on Twitter to see spoilers. So what I've had to do is I have New Japan Cup and AEW Dynamite at the same time, and then I'm able to start NXT before the kind of takeover like main match at the start. So I've got that nice little kind of window where I finish one, start the other, and then New Japan Cup will start to take my attention away. Hey, that's right, 3 shows in one morning. It's crazy. We're not able to do this in a normal world environment. But yeah, so I don't really mind as much about NXT. So like after I've watched Dynamite and New Japan Cup, after I watch Dynamite, I feel like I can go onto Twitter because I'm watching New Japan Cup live, so can't be spoilers. And I don't really mind seeing NXT stuff. So that meant I saw a picture of Austin Theory being choked out by Dexter Lumis with Indy Hartwell's tweet. That's the first time I saw anything about this match was Indy Hartwell's tweet. Which was just like thirst tweeting over Lumis, which I feel like that's a funnier way to first experience some film NXT via Indy Hartwell's Twitter coming onto your feed. But yeah, so the Dexter Lumis, though, is the NXT character I'm least into. Like, it continues to feud with The Way as they go through therapy. Tonight, Theory's turn to face his fears head on. And by that, I mean Lumis beats him up before choking him out. I mean, he got in some offence, as all Austin Theory matches do, but yeah, Lumis beat him. I fear he might win the championship at TakeOver. That's my biggest fear, because I'm just not into the character. But also, the level of care that I have
exemplified by how quickly commentary shifted to Ciampa talking to the interviewer lady backstage. As soon as the choke out happened, it was like it was still. I didn't even know if he stood up yet, and the commentary were immediately throwing to Ciampa. And like even for the next segment, they then immediately threw to Adam Cole in the ring with no entrance. It's like there was a lot of especially in this first hour, like a lot of seconds trimming. Like they knew they were going to overrun or something, or they were in danger of it, or whatever it was. So I found that a little bit interesting that they were cutting like that. Yeah, but next up was Adam Cole, as I've already accidentally kind of hinted at. Also, Ciampa then was talking to the interviewer lady backstage instead of going into William Regal's office. He's getting all serious. We'll see why later. He did mention it then, but I feel like I'll talk about it when I get to the actual topic of talking about. That was bad word order. Adam Cole, baby! Cole called Kyle jealous. Regal reminded repercussions of injury. O'Reilly out off in his car. And yeah, threats all round as TakeOver approaches. Not All great threats. I know where you buy video games. that's not that threatening. Yes, it was in a list of things, but personally, in terms of going through what's their list of 3? Personally, with the level of threat they're giving, you probably don't need to hit your list of 3. It's like, I know where you sleep. I know where you buy video games. I know you fake but takeout. It's just like increasingly less threatening. You don't have to do the list of 3. The first is enough to get the point. But yeah, so the fact that it made me chuckle a bit maybe destroyed the point. And Adam Cole didn't have an entrance, but yeah, it was fine enough. And William Regal coming out to talk to Adam Cole to say, just telling the violence of Adam Cole, like Kyle O'Reilly's like not cleared in any way, and I don't want you to come out and injure him even more. Kyle O'Reilly not feeling the same way, and next thing we know that there's been a kerfuffle outside as well, where if I can remember, wait a minute, no, for this next bit, I did it in order. No, where is it? Yeah, so Regal. We then cut afterwards. It was after which one match was it? It was after Bartel Ciampa, where Regal was outside and we saw a police car with Kyle O'Reilly in one car and Adam Cole in another, and William Regal's also there directing orders. For some reason the police are listening to William Regal because he is the man of control. You just listen to his voice. Even the police for some reason are listening to Regal over anything else. And organising the aftermath of some form of Undisputed Era chaos. As far as I can tell you, we're doing a story of Kyle O'Reilly drove into Adam Cole and then they ended up both getting arrested. And yeah, which led to somebody just putting out the quite funny tweet of just imagine, I think it was Ross, somebody. I'm following more than one Ross on Twitter. But yeah, it was just the point of imagine being Britt Baker going through that AEW main event and he come back to the curtain and Adam Cole is just like, hey baby, a crazy day at work. Kyle rear-ended me and I got arrested. What is this? Anyway, need you to get me out of prison. To bail me out. So, thanks babe. Just, yeah. Again, it's not, I don't feel like it's one of those set-up kind of scenes. It's, because we didn't see it a little bit, I don't really know. It's selling the violence in a different way, I appreciate that. NXT are always game for that. They do their setup a little bit differently, and I feel like the car stuff is a nice kind of change of form, trying out something new, and I personally like it. By itself, it's a bit weird, but I feel like in the grand scheme of everything else, in terms of what they're going to do next as well, I'm all for it. And after this, we did get an announcement that the NXT Women's Tag Team title match agreed for next week, with Ember and Shotzi taking on the Robert Stone brand. Not really much more to say to that, other than that's what was said. And then Ember Moon took the piss out of Robert Stone's suit. So take that. The Gun of Del Fantasma versus Breeze Ango, a.k.a. Cross-Continental Championship Champion Clash. Decent back and forth tag. See, I can do alliteration. A decent back and forth tag as Escobar watches on. Breeze getting a fair amount of shots in, but in the end, the Legado found their groove. Really, the point was to get the lads together at ringside for Devlin to make his NXT return. So the match itself, I didn't really take that much stock in, just waiting for Devlin to return, especially as before they came out, they showed Devlin arriving. So we know what's happening now. The two Cruiserweight champions face to face. Devlin never dropping the title thanks to the pandemic, and our unification match set for Stand and Deliver. I'm yours. Who did that song? I need to figure it out, because I need to know who to look out for the monetization claim. For copyright claim, obviously. Anyway, Zoe Stark versus Dakota Kai was up next. Obviously, again, Dakota Kai, accompanied by Raquel Gonzalez, because we're about to enter a string of matches where it's like the match might be alright and decent, but the ultimate end game is setting up a Stand and Deliver match. So Stark quickly making her way through matches with NXT's biggest names. And not winning, but the amount of faith in her for the future is clearly on display by putting her in matches like these to get amazing experience right off the bat. The amazing women's division NXT continues to grow. Also, a promo for Sarie airing before this match, just to exemplify that. The latest, massive star from Japan coming in to make a big splash in NXT. It's Kairi Sane, Asuka tagged out, Kairi Sane tagged in, Kairi Sane tags out, Io Shirai tags in. Maybe the rival Sarie paints that Io Shirai is going to be going elsewhere soon. So, I know quite a few people get excited at the idea of, can we get Asuka and Io Shirai before one of them leaves the company, please? just a bit. It's like, even if it's a B pay-per-view match with 10 minutes, just before they go, just like a taste of it. Just a slither. Just like one thin slice. But for the second match in a row, the bigger picture was the ringside wrestler being there for the champion to waltz on down for. And we'll say Stark again looked impressive in defeat. Kai, as the more experienced competitor, just had more answers. The end coming after a fight back from Zoe had her on the top rope, only to get kicked once more and draped off that top for a match-ending go-to kick. Dakota Kai getting a nice strong win. I was going to say Zoe Storm, putting Tony Storm and Zoe Stark together there. Zoe Stark getting loads of great experience, but also Big Mama Cooley's out there. And Io Shirai makes her way on down and very, very visually, right in front of us, walks past Kai, who looks pissed as hell. And also surprised in a way. I'm assuming none of us at home were surprised, but the fact Kai was, I feel like might be painting something. And Io Shirai challenges Raquel Gonzalez instead to defend the title against At Stand and Deliver, directly saying, I want to face you. And yeah, it's a match, I feel like, again, just like Karrion Kross Finn Balor, it is the kind of generation shifting, or era shifting for NXT. Because whether they change their titles, like a big era shift, really. A big era shift from Io Shirai to Raquel Gonzalez. I feel like that's just like Karrion Kross in that one. Like, both singles titles are pretty big shifts in that manner. And maybe Dakota Kai was like, immediately they know the next thing they're going to be doing as well. In Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, but you kind of keep it going a bit. Again, Dakota Kai, like, I feel like it's a nice little note of Kai jealousy. The Kiwi, like, she does have a history of jumping her tag partner once, like, one of them starts to rise a bit. She gets extremely jealous very quickly and snaps. Like, I mean, I personally like the pairing a bit too much. I'm just saying it's a note of consideration. They very visually in front of us had Dakota Kai look pissed as hell. Then they had a segment where she had to show being really happy for her. And just to see that contrast between her reaction when Raquel was looking at her and her reaction when Raquel couldn't see her face, like the genuine shock. It's a nice little painted thing. And I feel Adam Cole told me that quite sometimes those reactions are legit something. It is NXT. Someone can get called up at any point, but there is a little thing to consider. But yeah, that's in both big singles titles matches at WrestleMania. At Stand and Deliver, I'm yours. Yeah, it's going to be. They're both quite big shifts. If the title changes hands, it's the massive, obviously the massive asterisk on there. If the title actually changes hands, we'll have to wait and see what actually happens. Anyway, Marcel Bartel and Tommaso Ciampa in a match of Walter. It's like, Ciampa did a Walter. Sorry, move. And here comes Walter. Sorry, Bartel. Just like, I'm watching this match, just like I have done for the 2 previous segments, just waiting for the guy to walk out and do a thing. So, Ciampa, who's not Walter, quickly made his presence with a chair which wasn't Walter, while making his way to eventually beat Bartel with the Widow's Bell draped DDT. But once again, TakeOver setup builds continue. And the third segment in a row, it's this time for the dominant NXT UK champion, who is Walter, making his return to Orlando. And you can fight off Bartel and Eichner, but good luck standing after a Walter chop. But Jesus, they have been missed. Those chops are special. A beatdown of an NXT veteran with another match seemingly set. This one wasn't officially announced in any capacity. Didn't have someone walk out with a contract like they literally did in the last segment. But still, you set up the next thing. After that was Regal and O'Reilly in police cuffs in their little tiff. And afterwards, we got LA Knight's debut. Austin Gray, the poor lad, on the receiving end as the former Impact and NWA star makes his mark in NXT. Knight with some... I know all of his offense, so none of this is a surprise to me. But he got some offense in before Bronson Reed came out to the stage, put on Knight's jacket, and in the process... Ooh, he's tensed and he ripped the arm off. Oh, he's too big a boy. Too big a boy. Rips the jacket. It's custom made. Shouts LA. Gray, unable to capitalise. He gave it a go. Gave us some false near falls. But LA Knight looked to immediately be entering a feud with the Aussie, and he snatches back the win. And one day, internally, I'll stop calling him Eli Drake, and I will one day not have to do Control F, type in Eli Drake and LA Knight, and then replace all. Eventually, one time I won't have to do that. So that'd be quite nice. But yes, this was a... If you've never seen LA Knight / Eli Drake before, then this was like a nice little showcase of some of his moves, including his finisher. Again, in terms of a debut, some of the big ones, it's like your main big moves, your presence in the ring, and just kind of overall feel to you, and then, hit your finisher. Get us used to your finisher. And that's what they did. And LA Knight sound, and commentary putting him over as an absolutely massive star and calling his debut huge. It's interesting that they're making such a big deal of LA Knight, and I don't know. There's something about him where I think it's just because the level he was kind of going at before coming to NXT. Well, in Impact, I kind of felt like the stars were his limit. He absolutely shone. I got really into his. I enjoyed the dummy button, like the dummy. Yeah, hit the button. I generally enjoyed it. It was silly, but I generally enjoyed it. I felt it was the kind of thing that would get him over, even though it's not like main event thing. Like it's the type of thing that gets you over, but you drop it for the main event. He keeps some of your stuff. But yeah, he kind of never broke into that world champion level. He's one of those guys where I'm trying to think who is a bit like in Impact. I guess to give a timely reference, I'd use Jake Roberts, where Jake Roberts was never world champion, but he was also too strong to be a mid-card guy, so he's kind of stuck in the middle. So if he's not feuding with the top guy, he's just kind of in the middle, not really doing anything. Of course, he's not going to win the championship either, but you can throw him in there for a strong feud. That's what the level Eli Drake kind of fell into for me in Impact, where he would have decent feuds with top guys, but obviously he's not the guy who's going to win. So then after the match, he just drop into something, and after a period of time, the jumps back to the top kind of stopped. NWA felt like a really good fit for him, and it was going somewhere, and then the pandemic hit. And now you've seen so many of the NWA guys go elsewhere, like Ricky Starks, and obviously LA Knight here. And it's been, that's a shame what happened to NWA. I mean, they're still going, it's just, obviously, quite a lot of their big stars have gone elsewhere, like Barrett as well. I completely forgot Wade Barrett was like their lead commentator, and now he's over here in NXT, and LA Knight's also here in NXT. It's interesting to see that. Like the amount of Impact and NWA guys that have gone into either AEW and NXT. It's interesting. It's interesting to see that happen. Decent debut. I like the guy. I don't know how he's going to go. I'll see where it is. And of course, my point is they're putting him over as an absolutely massive star, but I'm going to struggle a little bit to see him as that level of guy, just because I've seen him before. And I mean, to be fair, they do a really good job of kind of painting them how they want to present them in NXT, and you very quickly get used to things. Case in point, the name generator, just his name alone, LA Knight, is going to take me a while to get used to. With his SmackDown Live type font, it's going to take me a while to get used to that. But the NXT is something they do, the way they present it, you very quickly kind of drop those criticisms. Like Seth Rollins, I remember the absolute jokes thrown his way when he was first presented on NXT as the first NXT champion. But very quickly, don't care. You move on pretty quickly from that kind of thing. If it's things to do with like presentation and presence, where like Keith Lee, where the other versions showed such depth of character, but I feel like they're doing a pretty strong job of highlighting Eli Drake's strengths. He's a very WWE guy to me, but I said the same about EC3. So we'll wait and see. EC3, like Eli Drake, who's now LA Knight, absolutely screamed that they would do well in WWE. But they got there, and EC3 ended up being nothing. To be fair, he was called up in a crop of people which were 4 panic call-ups in a hope to generate some buzz. They were right after the McMahons all came out and said, "We've let you down. We're going to be changing things, and we're going to be listening to you. Now you're the ones in charge." And here to prove it are 4 NXT names. And as weeks went on, he found out they have absolutely zero plan for any of these 4 people. Nikki Cross eventually fell in with Alexa Bliss and had that stuff. And the Viking Raiders eventually found themselves wrestling a bit more often in the tag team scene, especially as it came closer to 2020 and they had their feud. Unfortunately, their biggest moments were in the lockdown era, but they did kind of get more into the tag scene. But EC3, I mean, Lacey Evans as well. Eventually, Lacey Evans got... It was weird. I felt like she had absolutely nothing. Then she got called. Then she got her match in the main event. Again, which was like, sorry, what are you doing? Which absolutely tanked in terms of popularity. But then she spent the rest of the time on SmackDown generally building up. Just again sucks. Pandemic happened, and then they made the same mistake again on Raw. But to be fair, she had improved quite a lot. It's just the storyline did her no favors. Awful storyline with Charlotte. Yeah, I've had to review it on Raw. So yeah. Anyway, my case in point being, because I feel like LA Knight screams it, and they're doing a really good job of showcasing his strength in a very WWE style way, and he fits absolutely perfectly. It doesn't mean it's going to work on the main roster. We'll wait and see. He may get immediately shot down because of the amount of Rock influence in him, but to be fair, it's a lot of different people from the Attitude Era, but obviously The Rock, clearly as his favourite, kind of stands out in his promo style. I feel like he's added enough of his own personal quirks. It's not as strong as it used to be. And I've seen some people commenting to saying that, and I'm just thinking, to be fair, that sounds a bit more like a holdover from before, which he definitely has improved on. I feel like NXT is the best place to be in to improve on that even more as well. Not that he definitely needs it, he's an awesome promo. Spending way too much time on LA Knight. I think I can end it now, I can move on. Because after this was the Tag Team Championship main event. And for me, that kind of exemplified the flow of the show. I felt like it was a generally strong show that flowed pretty well. But at the end of the day, it was also a setup show. And did nothing for St. Patrick's Day. So, yeah, it's... Yeah, I don't know how to review this one. It was a setup show. And I think before, when I've had these setup shows, I appreciate them because long term they mean quite a lot. Even if when you watch them, you don't have this amazing feeling of, that was such a fantastic show type of thing. Like last week, was that? They absolutely loaded last week's show with title matches. They're trying to turning it into a show which you feel like you kind of got to watch because there's so many title matches on it. Especially if you're somebody like me who every week makes their effort to watch both shows. But in terms of which was better from Imp, which show did I prefer, NXT AEW? NXT was a strong kind of building block show after they loaded last week for title matches and you got TakeOver in a couple of weeks. They did a strong job of setting stuff up. However, AEW for me had a landmark main event. And I feel like a lot of AEW, like the rest of the show, was also following up on build. It was one of those ones where I didn't feel like a lot of the show was spectacular, but the building blocks were strong, just like NXT. But the main event absolutely shifts it to AEW this week for me. I think, again, I called the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match absolute landmark moment. And the photo of Britt Baker covered in blood being put alongside Becky Lynch. And I think somebody did this to somebody else as well. I can't remember who it is. But yeah, for me, that's... Austin, that was it. Like Austin and Lynch with all the blood all over them. Yeah, I mean, it's just like people looking badass in blood, type of thing, like a star-making type of moment. But I feel like this was not just for AEW, but for women's wrestling, just because WWE put them in obviously all their big, massive matches and things. But this was the first lights out match in Dynamite, because the only lights out match they'd done before was Moxley versus Janela before Dynamite had started, and Moxley versus Omega in Full Gear, that was it. So they're the only two lights outs they've done. So to have this be the first one on Dynamite, it's pretty big. Like the thing I really like is I'm not somebody like when Jim Ross commentates, it irks me a little bit when he's trying his best, but you still get the sentence of this match is not just good for women's wrestling, this is good for all wrestling, for men wrestling. And I wouldn't even bring that up. I just talk about the grandeur of the match. I feel like Excalibur's nailed that, where he was talking about Britt Baker with his match. This is the first lights out match in AEW Dynamite history. Absolutely no mention of gender. Where this is just a historic night for the company, and it's not one of those where you then go afterwards, it's not just even for gender, for companies that don't even bring up gender. Like type of thing. For me, I feel like Lucha Underground is absolutely a fantastic way to kind of present on an equal level, purely because it was if you were smaller than, then you were just like a male smaller wrestler. You commentated the same way. Yeah, and this, I feel like it's an absolute landmark moment in terms of the presentation. Because, of course, in terms of the women's matches, they've been and WWE with the Hell in a Cell stuff, and they have been allowed to get a lot more brutal and stuff. This was a whole other level. In terms of in mainstream wrestling, for a women's match to have a violent match, which was that good, that strong, and to go that level of violence, and to show that amount of blood as well, for me, that's game-changing, because the women in WWE cannot do that. Like, they are not allowed to get anywhere near that level of violent. That's one of the edges AEW has. They have been allowed to, again, that line of blood and guts. They've been allowed to go that far, and I feel like really long term that's a major bonus because they can do that. The women in WWE you can try and get creative to go around it, but especially if you're somebody who wants to have like that, like Moxley, kind of have like a wrestling adventure, I'll call it. That's a kind of match you can only do in one place on mainstream telly in America. I expect WWE over time to shift. That's my main thing, is a lot of the cracks showing now, it's me getting back to NXT, a lot of the kind of shift cracks showing now are intergender wrestling and, I guess, the violence level, where, again, there's lots of little talks of like, the networks wanting a bit more adult content, and then we get bollocks like Ric Flair insinuating very heavily that Ric Flair's sleeping with Lacey Evans. Like, is that your idea of adult content? For me, AEW is a more adult version showing you what that actually is. Like, yeah, it doesn't mean hint at two people shagging. That's not what it means. Monetization's dead. I've been singing songs, it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end the show. I'm talking about AEW Dynamite. Okay, so I like to talk about which is my favourite personally for the week before I then go to the ratings of the show. And personally, yeah, I preferred AEW Dynamite this week purely because they were both relatively strong building block shows. Then the main event of AEW Dynamite, again, an all-time landmark kind of show in terms of not just women's wrestling going forward, but in terms of like AEW Dynamite as a whole. I feel like, again, a landmark moment. I'm hyped for AEW afterwards, and I'm kind of looking forward to Pirate Delivery Show. What a weird title for a pirate-themed show. Don't get it. Stand and Deliver. What's that got to do with pirates? Anyway, I mean, they're shifting cargo, but it's not exactly formal. Anyway, that's the end of the NXT review. I'm going to get some sleep because Sunday I am up for Fastlane. I'm up on the Fastlane. Luckily for us UK folk, our clocks haven't changed yet, so everything's an hour earlier. So the show's like the show for me. This started at 11 p.m. It'll start at 11 p.m. next week as well. And yeah, Fastlane the same. Fastlane, that show starts at 11, and I'll be live immediately after it finishes, whenever that is. I'm hoping about 2 a.m. That'd be quite nice. Like I feel like for super early. Like I would not be ready for WrestleMania. That's going to be way later. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Fastlane. They're doing it's one of those where I feel like the show is going to be fine. I'm not fearing it like I have in the past. It does feel extremely unnecessary, especially so close to WrestleMania. Don't need the show at all. It's like a one-match show. I feel like it's kind of like that, where the Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan match is really the only one that matters. Everything else is a kind of pointless card to me. Anyway, but yes, what did you think of NXT? Hit up in the comments. Also, thank you for anybody who likes, subscribes, whatever, clicks the bell, whatever, 5-star review on the podcast version. Just engaging in any form, in any manner. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. Also, there's my Twitch at the Implications with 2 S's. I stream as often as I can. I also show up on other people's streams. And also, the New Japan Cup as well. I'll be doing week 2 of that over the weekend. I need to actually check when the final is, because I think there might be wise just to hold off until all of the second half matches have happened and just review the whole tournament after week 2. Unless we do a third column. Not thought about it. But yeah, so New Japan Cup, that will column be going up at the weekend as well. And I feel like there's something else. I guess congratulations to Ardeezy on the crazy success of this column. I say success. Only reason I'm saying that in brackets is because of the kind of comments gotten. It's been way more positive than I thought, but he wrote a column on Jim Cornette. and obviously you know what that means. So yeah. I think that's my final shout out. Oh, wrestling headlines as well. Yeah, follow on Twitter at Rasul Headlines. That's no E on the end. Also wrestling headlines on Facebook as well. Building up. Again, the site does really well on Facebook, so continue to grow. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And with that, I say thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, whatever majoggy madu you have to do nowadays. I will see you on Sunday for Fastlane, blurry eyes and all. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.